And this is the law of the trespass offering. It is most holy. In the place where they slaughter the burnt offering, they shall slaughter the trespass offering, and his blood he shall sprinkle on and around the altar. And he shall present from it all its fat, the fat tail and the fat that covers the inward parts, and the two kidneys and the fat that is on them, which is on the loins, and the appendage upon the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys. And the priest shall burn them on the altar as an offering by fire to Jehovah. It is a trespass offering. Every male among the priests may eat of it. It shall be eaten in a holy place. It is most holy. The trespass offering is like the sin offering, and there is one law for them. The priest who makes expiation with it shall have it. And the priest who presents anyone's burnt offering, that priest shall have for himself the skin of the burnt offering which he has presented. And every meal offering that is baked in an oven, and everything that is made in a pot or on a flat plate shall belong to the priest who presents it. And every other meal offering mingled with oil or dry shall be for all the sons of Aaron, to each alike. Now this is the law of the sacrifice of peace offerings that one shall present to Jehovah. If he presents it for thanksgiving, then he shall present the sacrifice of thanksgiving, unleavened cakes mingled with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil, and saturated cakes of fine flour mingled with oil. With cakes of leavened bread he shall present his offering, with the sacrifice of his peace offerings for thanksgiving. And from it he shall present one out of each offering as a heave offering to Jehovah. It shall present to the priest who sprinkles the blood of the peace offerings. And the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings for thanksgiving shall be eaten on the day of his offering. He shall not leave any of it until the morning. But if the sacrifice of his offerings is a vow, or a freewill offering, it shall be eaten on the day that he presents his sacrifice. And on the next day, what remains of it shall be eaten. But what remains of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burned with fire. And if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings is eaten at all on the third day, it will not be accepted, neither will it be reckoned to the one who presents it. It shall be an abomination, and the person who eats of it shall bear his own iniquity. And flesh that touches any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burned with fire. And as for other flesh, anyone who is clean may eat such flesh. But the person who eats of the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which belongs to Jehovah, with his uncleanness upon him, that person shall be cut off from his people. And when anyone touches any unclean thing, the uncleanness of man, or an unclean beast, or any unclean abomination, and eats of the flesh of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which belong to Jehovah, that person shall be cut off from his people. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, You shall not eat any fat of an ox, or of a sheep, or of a goat, and the fat of an animal that dies, and the fat of an animal which is torn by beasts may be put to any other use, but you shall by no means eat it. For whatever eats the fat of a beast from which someone presents an offering by fire to Jehovah, indeed the person who eats it shall be cut off from his people. And you shall not eat any blood either a bird or a beast, in any of your dwelling places. Any person who eats any blood, that person shall be cut off from his people. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, saying, He who presents the sacrifice of his peace offerings to Jehovah shall bring his offering to Jehovah out of the sacrifice of his peace offerings. His own hands shall bring Jehovah's offerings by fire. The fat with the breasts, the fat with the breast he shall bring, that the breast may be waved as a wave offering before Jehovah. And the priest shall burn the fat on the altar, but the breast shall be for Aaron and for his sons. And the right thigh you shall give to the priest for a heave offering out of the sacrifices of your peace offerings. The one among the sons of Aaron who presents the blood of the peace offerings and the fat shall have the right thigh as his portion. For the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the heave offering I have taken from the children of Israel out of the sacrifices of their peace offerings, and have given them to Aaron the priest and to his sons for a perpetual statute to be observed by the children of Israel. This is the anointing portion of Aaron and the anointing portion of his sons. From Jehovah's offerings by fire. In the day when he presented them to serve Jehovah as priests, which Jehovah commanded to be given them from the children of Israel, in the day that he anointed them, it shall be a perpetual statute throughout their generations. This is the law of the burnt offering, and of the meal offering, and of the sin offering, and of the trespass offering, and of the consecration, and of the sacrifice of peace offerings, which Jehovah commanded Moses on Mount Sinai, on the day that he commanded the children of Israel to present their offerings to Jehovah in the wilderness of Sinai. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bowl of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the basket of unleavened bread. And gather all the assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses did just as Jehovah had commanded him, and the assembly was gathered at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses said to the assembly, This is what Jehovah has commanded to be done. And Moses brought Aaron and his sons near and washed them with water. And he put the tunic upon him, and girded him with the girding sash, and clothed him with the robe, and put the ephod upon him, and he girded him with the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and with it he bound it to him. And he placed the breastplate upon him, and in the breastplate he put the Urim and the Thummim. And he placed the turban on his head, and on the turban on its front he placed the golden plate, the holy crown, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was in it, and sanctified them. And he sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its vessels, and the laver and its base, to sanctify them. And he poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head, and anointed him, to sanctify him. And Moses brought Aaron's sons near, and clothed them with tunics, and girded them with girding sashes, and bound high hats on them, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he brought the bull of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the bull of the sin offering. And Moses slaughtered it and took the blood and put some of it on and around the horns of the altar with his finger, and purified the altar and poured out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar and sanctified it to make expiation for it. And he took all the fat that was on the inward parts and the appendage of the liver and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and Moses burned them on the altar. But the bull and his skin and its flesh and its dung he burned with fire outside the camp, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he presented the ram of the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. And Moses slaughtered it and sprinkled the blood on and around the altar. And he cut the ram into its pieces, and Moses burned the head and the pieces and the fat, and the inward parts and the legs he washed with water. And Moses burned the whole ram on the altar. It was a burnt offering for a satisfying fragrance. It was an offering by fire to Jehovah, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he presented the other ram, the ram of consecration. And Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. And Moses slaughtered it and took some of its blood and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. And he brought Aaron's sons near, and Moses put some of the blood on the lobe of their right ear, and on the thumb of their right hand, and on the big toe of the right foot. And Moses sprinkled the rest of the blood on and around the altar. And he took the fat, that is, the fat tail, and all the fat that was on the inward parts, and the appendage of the liver, and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and the right thigh. And from the basket of unleavened bread that was before Jehovah, he took 1 unleavened cake and 1 cake of oiled bread and 1 wafer, and placed them on the fat portions and on the right thigh. And he put all these in the palms of Aaron and in the palms of his sons, and he waved them as a wave offering before Jehovah. And Moses took them from their palms and burned them on the altar upon the burnt offering. They were an offering of consecration for a satisfying fragrance. It was an offering by fire to Jehovah. And Moses took the breast and waved it as a wave offering before Jehovah. It was Moses' portion of the ram of consecration, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood that was on the altar and sprinkled it on Aaron, on his garments, and on his sons, and on his sons' garments with him. And he sanctified Aaron, his garments, and his sons' garments with him. And Moses said to Aaron and to his sons, boil the flesh at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and eat it there with the bread that is in the basket of consecration, just as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. And what is left of the flesh and of the bread you shall burn with fire. And you shall not go out from the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 days until the days of your consecration are fulfilled, for it will take 7 days to consecrate you. As has been done this day, so Jehovah has commanded to do, to make expiation for you. And at the entrance of the tent of meeting you shall stay day and night 7 days, and keep the charge of Jehovah, that you may not die, for so I have been commanded. And Aaron and his sons did all the things which Jehovah had commanded through Moses. Now on the 8th day Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said to Aaron, take for yourself a calf of the herd for a sin offering, and a ram for a burnt offering without blemish, and present them before Jehovah. Then to the children of Israel you shall speak, saying, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without blemish for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for peace offerings, to sacrifice before Jehovah, and a meal offering mingled with oil, for today Jehovah will appear to you. So they brought what Moses had commanded before the tent of meeting, and all the assembly came near and stood before Jehovah. And Moses said, "This is what Jehovah has commanded you to do, and the glory of Jehovah shall appear to you." And then Moses said to Aaron, "Come near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make expiation for yourself and for the people, and make the offering of the people, and make expiation for them, just as Jehovah has commanded." So Aaron came near to the altar and slaughtered the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar, and the rest of the blood he poured out at the base of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and the appendage of the liver of the sin offering he burned on the altar, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And the flesh and the skin he burned with fire outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering, and Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, and he sprinkled it on and around the altar. And they handed the burnt offering to him piece by piece, and the head, and he burned them on the altar. And he washed the inward parts and the legs and burned them upon the burnt offering on the altar. And then he presented the people's offering, and took the goat of the sin offering, which was for the people, and slaughtered it and offered it for sin like the first. And he presented the burnt offering and offered it according to the ordinance. Then he presented the meal offering and filled his hand with some of it and burned it on the altar, besides the burnt offering of the morning. Then he slaughtered the ox and the ram, the sacrifice of peace offerings, which was for the people. And Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, which he sprinkled on and around the altar. And the fat portions of the ox and of the ram, the fat tail and the fat which covers the inward parts, and the kidneys and the appendage of the liver, these fat portions they then put on the breasts, and he burned the fat portions on the altar. And the breasts and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before Jehovah, just as Moses had commanded. And Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting, and they came out and blessed the people, and the glory of Jehovah appeared to all the people. Then fire came forth from before Jehovah and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portions on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they gave a ringing shout and fell on their faces.